In America, we know that the first week of September, the schools are reopening after the summer vacation. In India, September 1st is the teacher that is observing a Teachers' Day. So first week of September, Sabha is observing as Educators' Day. It is relevant, both India and America, to celebrate and observe this Sunday as Education Sunday. The theme is teachers to be filled with divine wisdom. For our short meditation, the Gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 4, verses 16 to 22. It's a very familiar passage, and scholars call this passage as Nazareth Manifesto. And we know that what a manifesto is. When the election comes, or the political parties, they will publish a manifesto, what they are going to do in the future, or if they get a chance, what are the things they are going to do. That is the manifesto all about. Here, Jesus is realizing and declaring what he is going to do in his ministry. According to Lucan Gospel, this portion is the beginning of his public ministry. We know that in John's Gospel, the wedding at Cana is the beginning of Jesus Christ's public ministry. But according to Lucan Gospel, this Nazareth Manifesto is the beginning of his public ministry. He read in the synagogue, and it was written, when he returned to Nazareth, as he went to synagogue, that was his custom. So he given us a great example that every Sabbath day, the holy day, he worshipped the Lord Almighty. So he has given a great model to us, an example to us, worshipping the Lord Almighty. And again, we are reading in this passage that it's a prophetic fulfillment. And Jesus read the passage from Isaiah chapter 61, verses 1 and 2. But he avoided the sentence, the day of vengeance, and also he added Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6. As we are observing as Education Sunday today, based on this passage, I want to highlight few points. First one is an education based on God. Here Jesus is identifying that Spirit of Lord is upon me, and he has anointed me. Psalms 111 verse 10 says, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. When our education is based on God, then our education will be based on wisdom. Here we need to ponder on what is knowledge and what is wisdom. Knowledge, we know, it is always collecting some informations, data from different sources. These data can be from our classrooms, maybe from some other sources, from books or from our laptop, but it is just collecting information from different sources. But wisdom is ability to make right use of knowledge. So we have to know how to use the knowledge that we attained from different sources. Adana Vidya Prayasam. All these days, we have enough education. We have enough knowledge. In our society, we are lacking a wisdom. How to speak, how to behave. So the real wisdom comes only from God. When you listen today's epistle, James the apostle very clearly says, wisdom comes only from God. We can have many knowledges from different sources, but wisdom only comes from our God. So we are lacking a wisdom in our society, but all of us have enough education. Secondly, an education based on mission. Here Jesus is realizing his mission. Centuries back, the prophet has declared about a Messiah who will come from God, and he will liberate his people from his poverty, liberate his people from the bondage of sin. And after centuries, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, he realized his mission on this world. He recognized that he is the Messiah and God has sent him for a special purpose. He has anointed to bring good news to the poor, proclaim release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, and to let the oppressed go free. Albert Schweitzer, a theologian and a philosopher, he says that to know the will of God is the greatest knowledge. So we have many information from different sources. According to Albert Schweitzer, he says to know the will of God is the greatest knowledge. Again, he continues, to accept the will of God is the greatest heroism. We know many heroes in this world. We accept them as heroes. But according to Albert Schweitzer, he says, to accept the will of God is the greatest heroism. Can you accept that? Again, he continues, to do the will of God is greatest achievement. We may have lot of achievement in our life journey, but according to Albert Schweitzer, he says, to do the will of God is the greatest achievement. And he finally he says, to have the approval for the work, to have the approval of God for the work is the greatest happiness. സന്തോഷം എവിടുന്നാ വരുന്നത്? പണം കിട്ടിയാൽ, if we accumulate money, do we get happiness, satisfaction? According to Albert Schweitzer, he says, to have the approval of God for the work is the greatest happiness. So we have to understand that an education based on mission. We need to realize the mission that God has given to us. അതിന് ആവശ്യമായ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ ആണോ നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? Do we have an education based on our mission? Can we accept the will of God? Can we do the will of God? Can we have the approval of God for the work? This is the greatest happiness in our life. We need to identify our mission. We need to have an education based on our mission. When we think about our mission, really we have to think about the value system. Our mission should be filled with certain values. We need to include a value system in our education. I just want to remind you some of the values. First one, I want to tell you about value of teamwork. Many of our children are very good, extra talented people. But when they work with a team, they cannot work with a team because they are not trained in that way. So we should know that the value of teamwork. Again, we need to know about the value of time. And also, we need to know the value of service. Nowadays, there is no word like service In India, some years back, we considered that health area, medical area, education area are considered as service sector. That time has gone now. Everything, the cash will decide everything. There is no word service in that way. But the new generation, we have to give some values to the new generation. We should know the value of time, value of teamwork, value of service. And also, we need to know the value of respect each other. And also, we need to know the value of healthy relationship. Again, we need to know the value of money and food. I just remember one incident that narrated in the biography of Ratan Tata. You know, Ratan Tata is a business tycoon in India. And once he visited Germany, and as part of his business visit in Germany, he went to a restaurant with his friends. They ordered so much of food, and they couldn't finish all the food there. And about to leave, the other people, they were in the restaurant, they started shouting at these people. But they were shouting in German language and they couldn't understand what it was. And about to leave that restaurant, one person came and told Ratan Tata, see, the money will be yours, but the resources are common. This statement Ratan Tata mentioned in his biography. So we need to know the value of money and food. ഈ ദിവസങ്ങളിൽ നമ്മൾ തിരിച്ചറിയേണ്ടുന്ന നമുക്ക് പുതിയ തലമുറയ്ക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കി കൊടുക്കേണ്ടുന്ന ഒരു വലിയ കാര്യമാണ്. We need to know the value of money and food. Again, value of integrity and accountability. We have some responsibility to our society. We have some responsibility to our family. We have responsibility towards the world that we live. Again, we need to know the value of learning. Why do we learn something in our life? We need to know the value of learning. We have to include a value system in our education. Then only a generation will come up based on wisdom. So 2 points I just highlighted. One is an education based on God. Fear of the God is the beginning of wisdom. So our generation should have an education based on God. Secondly, an education based on mission. Here Jesus realizes the mission that God has given to him. We also have to understand, we also have to identify the mission that God has given to us. Again, when we really think about our mission, there should have some value system in our life. A value of service, a value of time, a value of teamwork, a value of respect, value of healthy relationship, a value of money and food, a value of integrity and accountability, a value of living. May God bless us with these words. I request any one of you to do the same.